We are live. Welcome to College Football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. If you want to support the show through a donation, hit the $sign with a comment, and we'll get you a super chat as fast as possible. Welcome into the studio that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue, PATC community. Don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend with your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. We've got a stack show. We do have an update in the Holy Smokes Theater. Clemson continues to be active, and we're going to tell you how we know. And what does it mean? I get it. Here at Peek Around the Corner, we seem to be in the minority. I seem to be in the minority on what's out there on Twitter and the message boards. We're not hearing, we're not seeing the same thing everybody else is. That's okay. That's okay, but we're getting told a whole different story. The last couple updates in the Holy Smokes Theater, besides last week when we really focused on what was going on at North Carolina Chapel Hill. Besides that, a story that we covered like nobody else. Our previous couple episodes was when it came to the Holy Smokes Theater was about Clemson. And it is again. They remain active. And that means something, ladies and gentlemen. That means they're getting some feedback. And we're going to let you know. We're going to let you know why we know this. Okay? Of course, we can't give out names. I'm going to have to figure out how specific I can get here. But let me say this. The doors have not closed on Clemson in their attempts to find a landing spot outside the ACC if and when that opportunity arises. And we think it will here in the next 3 years. But the doors have not shut down on them. We'll get to that. We've got a whole bunch to get to. First of all, let me thank all the people who have come in early. Then we got to get to the portal news, high school big signing news. I've got to get to Dylan Raiola. Cornhuskers, looks like they're back, right? It looks like they're back. I love this kid's arm. I've been talking about it. I talked about it with my Cornhuskers friends on Twitter, on X, a year ago. I love his arm. I watch his tape. The last year here in Buford, his senior tape. It looks like he jumps a little bit on his throws. Sometimes he's taking a jump shot. He's got a magnificent arm. And this is all he's a young kid. He's a young kid. What is he, 17 years old? So I'm not going to hit the kid too hard on this. Okay? We're not like that here at Peek Around the Corner. But I do have to go over the poem he just put out. He put it out there in public. He's a public figure. He's going to make more money in NIL than I have in my whole life. So I do have to say something about his poem. I love poems. I love poems. You guys love poems, right? I sing songs. I create songs. Poems are fine. It just, this poem, I don't know. It's again, just a young guy. I don't want to pick on him too much, but yeah, we got to go through a poem. Okay, let me thank everybody who's come on in early. As the show started, it's Expedition Greg, early peak member. Ryan Brooks, early peak member. Keep your head on a swivel. Randy Taylor, what's the scoop? It's not. I'm going to let you guys know why we know that Clemson is very active. And we think they have a right to be. We've got something nailed on this, and we knew a little bit about it a couple months ago. That's why we talked about Clemson so much, but now we've gotten more information. And I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm the only one out there, or I'm close to the only one out there. And that's okay. That's okay. We can handle it here at Peek Around the Corner. We can handle it. We got the information. Clemson remains very active in the Holy Smokes Theater. And there's a reason for it. JD Turtle's in the house. Tim Bells is in the house. Chad Bracey's in the house. Grateful Trojan, what a crazy couple days in LA. Malachi Nelson in the portal. Holy smokes. Matt Neeson is in the house. Texas Tech Red Raider Laura Weiss is in the house. Immaculate is in the house. Okay, I feel dirty. I fell into the Monty Show water for a few minutes. Had to be clean in the waters of maturity and intelligence. Oh boy, what's going on over at the Monty Show? West Virginia guy, he's in the house. Jim Reese is in the house. PATC. From Maryland, Jared Jones, Mr. Buckeye, early peak member, is in the house. Jonathan Price, thank you so much. Justin Lucas. The AP had a very interesting line in their AP sports story of 2023. I read the headline where it said that Justin, I read the headline where it said the sports story of the year was 2023 realignment, but I did not read it. So Justin, let me know in the comment section if you have time. Let me know what their interesting line is. I would appreciate it. Sergeant Pickles, the most brilliant man in the chat room, because he corrected me. He corrected me on the last show. I bet he's going to correct me again because this host is not too smart. Sergeant Pickles, Washington Huskies in the house. Palik is in the house. Mick Stevens, TCU Horned Frogs. Grant Creech is in the house. Okay, I hope I didn't miss anybody. If I did, I apologize. We have a whole lot to get to. Ralph Russo, the top of college sports, should be heading into a few years of relative peace. When it comes to realignment, each of the remaining power conferences is locked into a meteorite deal. Thank you, Justin, for that comment. Appreciate it. Again, that seems to be kind of the correct take on it, right? Grant of rights. You're going to go to the courts. You're going to try to break it. It's going to take years. It's very risky. But then again, on the other hand, we know that there are certain front porch of the universities who are very active right now, today. So why is that? Why is that? We're going to get into it once again here at Peek Around the Corner. Okay, so let's get to some stories here before we walk into the Holy Smokes Theater. Before we take a walk in to the Holy Smokes Theater, we have a lot of updates here to get to. First of all, this was announced yesterday, after our live show was over. DeQuan Finn, the great Toledo quarterback of the last couple of years, is moving on to Baylor. He's going to be QB number 1 at Baylor next year. I think this is a big-time pickup for Baylor. It's going to be very interesting to see how this works. My Minnesota Golden Gophers today, we talked about it last night. We thought it was, I brought this up, Cole Perch. There was steam. There was steam that he's going to stay at Minnesota. And it looks like Steve Woodfong he's going to be committed, stay committed at Minnesota. Big time safety out of Elko, Minnesota. It looks like he's going to stay committed to my beloved Minnesota Golden Gophers. A freak of an athlete. You're going to be hearing his name. He's going to play as a true freshman. There's no doubt about it. Malachi Nelson, the USC 5-star freshman. He was the number 1, I believe. He was the number 1 rated quarterback in 247, correct? Last year? I might be wrong on that, but I believe he was number 1. Anyways, he's in the portal. Right? He's in the portal. Good Lord, that was terrible pronunciation. Matt Fortuna. Source, Troy is set to hire Notre Dame offensive coordinator Gerard Parker to be the next head coach. So Notre Dame offensive coordinator Parker, he did not get all that good of grades right in the first year at Notre Dame. They had problems in the wide receiver room. I think they've corrected some of that. Right? I believe they have corrected some of that. So Parker leaving, this being announced today. Notre Dame Fighting Irish fans, just like when Tommy Rees left, they're not too upset with this. They're not too upset with this. They have dreams of who's going to be the next offensive coordinator. They have dreams. They don't know who it's going to be, but I think they're okay with this. Parker, he's going to be the next head coach of Troy. Expedition Greg in the chat says Carson Beck is coming back to Georgia next year. I got that. Malachi. Got it. Malachi Nelson. What did I say? I'm not sure what I said. Malachi Nelson. New Big Ten is settling in. Again, Matt Fortuna. Oregon's Dan Lanning. USC's Lincoln Riley and Washington's Kalen DeBoer will join the Big Ten Network Big Ten Live Signing Day special on Wednesday. So it's already happening, ladies and gentlemen. Even though the four schools, USC, Washington, Oregon, UCLA, are not going to be officially in the Big Ten until, I don't know if it's July 1st or August 1st. Usually it's July 1st when something like this happens. But their bylaws is written a little bit strange. So anyways, they're going to be Big Ten here in the summer. And it's already happening. Lanning, Riley, DeBoer going to be on the Big Ten Network on Wednesday. So Washington, the Huskies, the Ducks, the Trojans, and the Bruin fans, gotta get your subscription to the Big Ten Network. This is your really first conference network. This is nothing like the Pac-12 network. You're going to be able to find the Big Ten Network. You're going to be able to watch it. And it's going to be full of live content. Okay. And also, I want to get to North Carolina State. We talked about it last night. They have been on a roll in the transfer portal. North Carolina State, quite active in transfer portal lands. Duke running back Jordan Waters. This guy is a hard, tough runner. He gave Clemson and Notre Dame everything they could handle. Lance Duke running back. 6 offensive player committed to North Carolina State from the transfer portal. And here's some of the names. This doesn't include the center from Notre Dame. Quarterback Grayson McCall, Jordan Waters, Wesley Grimes, Justin Jolly. The North Carolina State, we're going to have to really give North Carolina State a good look in the offseason. There might be challenging the top 3, top 2, top 4 spots in the ACC here in 2024. Grayson McCall, how will he adjust? He's got 1 year of eligibility. Is going to be able to perform at an autonomy 4 conference level. I think he can. Okay, now we're going to get to the Nebraska story, okay? And then we'll get to your a little bit of your comments. Then we got to go into the Holy Smokes Theater. Because I've got to let you guys know something about what's going on, okay? There's leakage coming out. And I got to tell you where it's coming from. And so you guys know why we are so sure about something. Okay? We're going to go there today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go there today. Now, Pete Damos, everybody knows, ESPN story on elite quarterback recruit Dylan Raiola flipping from Georgia to Nebraska. The collision of legacy and opportunity held a strong allure. The full interview, we're not going to go through the whole thing, but it's Dylan Raiola, number 8 recruit in the nation, flips from Georgia to Nebraska. ESPN's top pocket passing quarterback in the 2024 recruiting class told ESPN on Monday that he's switching his college commitment to Nebraska to Georgia. In a phone interview Monday, Raiola detailed how a lifetime of being intertwined with Nebraska football played into his decision. His father, Dominique, was an All-American offensive lineman there, and his uncle, Donovan, is the school's offensive line coach. I firmly believe Nebraska is in my blood, Raiola told ESPN. It's a great opportunity to be part of something bigger than myself. Nebraska is a special place. Nebraska marks the third school that Raiola had been tied to in his retirement. He committed to Ohio State early in May of 2022, only to decommit and choose Georgia in May of 2023. The Bulldogs today have learned that quarterback Carson Beck is coming back for his senior season in 2024. Raiola said there's an allure to potentially restoring the glory to Cornhuskers amid the program's 7-year bowl drought spanning 3 head coaches. I think it would mean a lot to bring it back, Raiola said, just because of the legacy of so many great players that have walked through that locker room that's been established there to keep doing what they've established. Now, this is a great day for Nebraska. I have been a fan of Dylan Raiola for 2 years. I've talked about him. Unbelievable arm. Now, is he going to be like a Rattler where he's got an unbelievable arm, but he doesn't quite develop in other parts of the game of being quarterback? I don't know. But he has a Rattler arm. He's got a Dan Marino arm. He's got an Aaron Rodgers arm. He's got a Patrick Mahomes arm. He's got the arm. So this is a huge day for Nebraska. One of the red flags, maybe the only red flag, I don't know. He's a young man. Who knows how he's going to develop and everything. But one of the flags that people have been throwing on the field, talking about Raiola, is how many times he's decommitted in high school and in college. And I can see that point of view. Maybe we're just getting into that era of college sports where everybody's going to be transferring all the time and it's going to be chaos. Hopefully, we get some guardrails around this sport that we love. But that's another discussion for another day. I want to show you, again, he's a young kid, okay? And maybe you guys are going to like this poem. And I like poems, so this is not anti-poem, okay? I'm not anti-poem at all. I write songs. I sing them horribly, by the way. I'm not anti-poem. And I'm not anti-18, 17-year-old writing a poem. Supposedly, no, not supposedly, this is from Dylan Raiola's own Twitter account. Now, again, I know he's a young man, but now he's a public figure. He's going to make more money in 1 year than I have in my lifetime. So, look, these are not 17-year-old kids anymore that basically are just going to school. I think you guys understand what I'm saying. Again, Dylan Raiola puts out a poem, Go Big Red. I love the spirit. I love the passion. The poem reads, in the realm of college dreams, where purpose takes fight, enter Dylan Raiola, crafting his narrative in the night. Once lured by Georgia, where powerhouse glory gleamed, yet Nebraska's purpose in his heart brightly beamed. In the scarlet and cream, where legacies entwine, Dylan, like Rodgers, Rozier, and Crouch, a hero. A hero in the line. No longer a cog in some powerhouse machine, but a quarterback with an even grander ambition unseen. So fellow fans await with hope in the air for Dylan to choose his purpose to declare. In a weekend's decision, destiny calls to fulfill his purpose where a new dynasty enthralls. Look, he's a young man full of confidence. He's got no problem talking in third person. I do that, but I call myself the fat guy from Minnesota. So I think there's a little bit of a difference there. Once lured by Georgia, I don't know. I would have probably advised this young gentleman not to write this, or at least take a couple lines out, like Dylan, like Rogers, Rozier, and Crouch, a hero in the line. Not quite. I'm not. If he's calling himself a hero, again, he's a young man. But hopefully somebody talks to him and says, "You're already going to have a big enough spotlight on you, and just take it easy, young man. Take it easy." Now, here's a guy who has been the number one quarterback in his high school class. Some people don't believe that, but there's a large amount of people who believe that. And he's been number one, number two, whatever, his whole life, right? So, of course, he's got a lot of confidence. He's got a lot of vigor, right? And you got to have confidence to succeed. I think you might have went a little bit overboard on this poem. I'll read your comments in a second. But this is Nebraska's future. Dylan Raiola. This is the guy. This is the guy who's going to lead Nebraska out of a 7-year no bowl swamp that they've created in Lincoln. It's going to be very interesting. Is he going to be the true star? He's going to be the starter in his true freshman year? I got to think he's going to be. I'm not a Purdy guy. I'm not a Harbaugh guy. They tried really hard. Purdy's got some quarterback skills, but I don't know. We'll see. The architect, Greg, easy. If Minnesota signed a whip like a kid like this, he'd be dancing the street. Of course I would. Of course I would. I just got done saying how great he is. How fantastic he is. I'm just taking a little shot at a poem. That's all I'm doing. He put it out there for public consumption. To me, it went a little bit over the top, but I'm sure, everything's going to be okay. Great quarterback. Of course I'd be dancing the street. Nebraska is one of our rivals, and I've congratulated Nebraska, saying Nebraska's back. No question about it. Sergeant Pickles, there's a massive pressure to start these guys right away. Maybe not best for development. Well, yeah, there's pressure. One of the things is this guy's getting paid a lot of money in the NIL collective. So, yeah, you're going to have to play him. Rule has to take a big shot. No question about it, Immaculate. No question about it. They got a big timer. Okay, so Coos Corner, West Virginia picked up Oklahoma State. Jaden Bray from the portal today. Okay, let's get to the Holy Smokes Theater. We've maybe again, I think it was sometime last month, but we had a live show about Clemson in the Holy Smokes Theater. And we had some information. We do have some information We believe they're at the center of the stage with Florida State, right? In the Big 12 Holy Smokes Theater, when we broke down and we gave you the peek around the corner, it was always Colorado only at the center of the stage. This is not the case. It's not been the case for the last couple months. And there's a reason for it. Clemson and Florida State at the center of the stage. We got more information today. Not yesterday, not the day before, today. And again, it's happening all over again. Now let me explain. You remember when we did the Colorado Big 12 story, right? In February 24th, about that time, we said the odds change. The odds change in the PATC sportsbook that now the Big 12 is favored to be able to poach at least one or more schools from the Pac-12. We got raked over the coals on it, but that happened in February. It finally happened on July 27th when Colorado made the move, announced the move. During that whole process, we talked about how much trouble the Pac-12 was in. We got raked over the coals, man. We got called every name in the book. We did this, and we finally explained it to you all that we did this, that we had Colorado at the center of the stage because we were getting so much information in waves about how bad it was going between the Pac-12 and potential media partners. We went over it and over day after day, week after week. Other people were announcing, 32 million, 35 million per school. People were throwing things out all over the place, and we kept saying to you all, they don't even have numbers to look at. The Pac-12 presidents don't even have numbers to look at. And it kept happening and happening and happening. Well, we got our information from certain people in, I'm just going to say, the reporting world, whatever. And how do I say this? Well, we've said it before. The information, like when it was reported out there in articles, later on, in June and May and June, and you saw some people get really upset with the reporting, right? They called it a conspiracy. They called it we were all lying and everything, right? Well, the reason why, and I kept saying these reporters and people, they were actually being kind. They could have said more. They could have been more negative about the situation, but they held back. Here is the piece of behind the curtain that we talked about earlier, months ago, and I'm going to bring it up tonight because, baby, it's a leaking. Cloak and Dagger is also happening. The media, there was a certain media company that there's a certain potential future media company of Clemson that leaked certain information about Clemson inside the Holy Smokes Theater. They were able to get some information. Some of those people reported it a couple months ago. I'm going to say it's almost close to 3 months ago. No, I'm sorry, 2 months ago. 2 months ago. The reason why they had this information is because Clemson has been talking to, not even indirectly really, but they've been getting information from these media companies. That's Clemson is now, that was a couple months ago, okay? We knew about this. And I can't really, I'm not going to be able to, you guys can figure it out. I'm giving you enough hints here. You can figure it out. Clemson is still doing it today. We know that this, I don't remember it's Chris, talking about mispronunciations of names, but Chris Belawakwa, whatever, the guy that was hired, that firm, consulting firm, there's been more communication between Clemson and other potential future media partners of Clemson since it happened 2 months ago. Why do we know this? I'm going to tell you. Media companies leak information. They leak information. They're the ones, okay? I'm going to tell you that. Now, other people are not going to tell you that because they need the continuous access. So they're not going to rip. They're just going to say, we're reporting this, we're reporting that. I'm telling you, I'm giving you this little peek around the curtain that this is the media. The media companies leak like hell when it came to Colorado and the Big 12. Okay? They leak. Now, it helped them when it comes to negotiations, whatever. Can you completely trust the leak? No, you really can't. But when you get so much of it, wave after wave, and it matches up with other information, you connect the information dots, you know the story. We were not lying about Colorado. We were not lying about any of that story. Of course we weren't. We're not lying tonight about Clemson. Clemson remains active because Clemson is going to have a landing spot coming out of the ACC. Be it next year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now. Am I in the minority on this? It looks like I am. And that is fine. That's fine. But I'm telling you guys, Clemson, Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida State. And we know there's going to be a big time issue with Virginia Tech. And we believe there could be an issue with North Carolina and North Carolina State. If I had to put my chips in the middle of the table, I would put it on that proposal will not pass at the Board of Governors at North Carolina. In other words, the proposal that would have, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole tonight, but that would sort of kind of protect the interest of North Carolina State, where the president of the North Carolina system's hands would have at least a little bit of oversight. The proposal that would make North Carolina have to present a financial package when it comes to leaving the conference. I'm going to put I don't know this for sure, obviously, but the way things are lining up here, I'm going to put my chips in the middle of the table that proposal will not pass. I believe the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill is going to do all they can to make sure that they can make a move with least amount of drag possible. The least amount of hurdles as possible. So we're going to put our chips in the middle of the table here. PATC, that proposal will not pass. But Clemson, back to Clemson, we got more of this from a different sources, from a different media company than what broke, than who reported and broke of a couple months ago when it come to Clemson. And so we poked and prodded on this today. And it came back to us as like, yeah, because Clemson is playing a whole bunch of people off each other. They are in a good spot. Florida State's in a good spot. Clemson's in a good spot. North Carolina's in a good spot when it comes to being able to secure a landing spot out of the... Now, getting out of the ACC, not in a good spot. But they're going to have to figure that out. It's going to cost a whole lot of money. And there's not going to be any direct talks, official direct talks, until Clemson gets out of the ACC. But they know there's a certain level of acknowledgement that Clemson has received back that they are in a good spot. I know that goes against a lot of what people are saying. And is Clemson, are they number 1 or 2 on Paul Feinbaum's list for the SEC? No. But they are 3 or 4. Is Clemson number 1 on the Big Ten list? No, they're not. They're not number 2 either. But they're 3 or 4. And that's good enough. That's good enough. It's just the way it is. Clemson has had this consulting firm doing work for now 9 months. 9 months. And I think they've received what they've wanted to receive. We are very, very, very peek around the corner. We are very, very pro Clemson in the sense that, again, huge mountain to climb when it comes to getting out of the ACC, to get a settlement with the ACC. But Clemson, the door has not been shut on Clemson. And that is not coming from Clemson. Do you understand what I'm saying? Clemson isn't giving us propaganda here at Peek Around the Corner. We're getting that from other sources. That has leaked before, they're leaking now, and we're going to make sure we don't quite say who they are, but you can, there's only so many media companies, right? And at least 2 of them now have leaked that Clemson is talking to everybody, and they're sitting pretty good. They're sitting really good. And if SEC, Big Ten, whatever opportunity arises, they're fine. They're going to be fine. Although it's going to cost a whole lot of money. We'll see if they can get over that mountain. But if they do, there's going to be a landing spot for Clemson. That's, again, I know, there's a lot of really good people out there saying Clemson might be in trouble. And there's a lot of really wacko people that are saying Clemson might be in trouble. Go ahead and continue to listen to the good people who are saying that. Clemson is not in trouble from what we are being told. The door definitely has not been shut on Clemson. And again, we talked about a couple months ago that there's this date range of like January 20th to February 6th. We talked about the first quarter of 2024 when it came to Florida State. We still think that they're going to declare something. They're going to put their flag into the ground, their spear into the ground, and they're going to make another statement, another declaration on where this is heading. We think Clemson is going to do the same thing, especially from what we're being told in details that I can't get to right now. We think Clemson's going to do the same thing as Florida State. Some sort of declaration. And we have also, we reported this a month ago. We're going to say the same thing tonight. We have reasons, people who talking to us have reasons to think that we can maybe close the window down in the 3-month window down to somewhere between January 20th and February 6th. There's something going on at that time at Clemson. We'll see what happens. We're going to be following this, right? We are following this. We're working every angle to this story. The North Carolina, we're kind of seeing where that's going, right? Internally, the battle's being waged, and right now it's advantage SEC. In fact, look, it's advantage SEC in the Holy Smokes Theater, period. Period. There's an opportunity. If things go right, if things fall right, if these schools can get out of the ACC, there's an opportunity that the SEC can make a clean sweep. The relationship between Florida State and SEC, Florida State and ESPN is absolutely miserable, but we can't count that out. But anyways, I just wanted to put it out there. Again, a different media company, different source. It happened again with Clemson. They remain very active, and because they're getting good positive feedback, and that's as far as we can go with it today. So that's the update at the Holy Smokes Theater. Raiola, I'm going to open up the phone lines right now. Give us a call. Talk about anything in college football. We went through the portal once again. Phone lines are open. 763-260-1333. Daniel Montecastle. Daniel Montecastle. I gotta talk about Indiana. Clemson opens up new ground for the Big Ten. That's why I believe Clemson is Big Ten. Look, Indiana, Daniel. Something's going on in Hoosier country, right? Something's going on. Something positive is going on in Hoosier country.
Call from
Immaculate,
Mr. Hawkeye, Coach Ferentz, not quite ready to really announce the offensive coordinator. They're still looking around, maybe hitting another phone call after the bowl game. The floor is yours, sir.
That's what I was calling on too. It's kind of funny to watch how that's going. He's taking shots. Like I was expecting to have some USC guys in the chat taking shots at me, and who else was he taking shots at? There was someone else. But anyway, that guy is up for a fight. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen Ferentz like that in a while.
Yeah.
But there's supposedly he's visited with 3 guys, and there's one more that he wants to talk with, which makes me think that might be the one that he likes the most. And he just,
oh yeah.
I mean, if he wasn't, would you wait? I mean, so what I'm seeing is now the talk. Even the writers and everyone is starting to talk of Chris. So I'm thinking Chris from Wisconsin. I don't know if folks remember him or not. But if I had to bet my money, I think that's where that's going to go.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with you on that because I agree with you because you're like you've said to me. I don't know if you said on the show or off the show, but you said he's probably not going to go with the young whippersnapper, right?
Yeah.
He's only got so many years left in the game. He wants to go with somebody he knows. Paul Chris kind of fills all those boxes.
Yeah, and he said something to the interviewers today to that effect of whoever comes in has to understand, like, and appreciate Iowa football. And like, it's basically they're going to have to call plays my way. And I think Chris has enough respect from Ferentz that he could at least do it somewhat his own way. And I think his own way would mesh well with that. He doesn't want someone coming in, throwing bombs 3 plays straight, going 3 and out, causing his defense to get gassed. And, he wants them to at least be able to, run out some clock, give his guys some time. So, Chris is a little bit more of a traditionalist. And that's if I had to bet right now and throw a name out there, I think that's where that goes.
Yeah.
So we'll see, because he's not in any hurry. So if he was in a hurry, it'd be someone that other schools are looking at. And I haven't heard anyone sniffing at Chris' door, so I think he's got time for that. But it worries me because this Nebraska story. I mean, Raiola, I don't know if he's going to play the first year. But if you notice, the announcement for him and the announcement for Beck at Georgia were like there was an hour difference.
Yeah.
So it kind of felt like both situations were a little bit determining each other.
Yeah. I hope for Nebraska's sake, both situations weren't determining each other because, the young man just put out that poem, so it'd be kind of, was he still seriously thinking about staying committed to Georgia? I don't know. Again, I'm probably being too tough on the kid's got an unbelievable arm. People are going to go wow when they see it. I've watched tape after tape of this guy. Before he got to Buford, Georgia, I watched it. His arm is unbelievable. It's Aaron Rodgers. We'll see if he's got everything else, the intangibles, when it comes to his game.
If people think that a freshman can't do it, I would point out Arizona. I think he's a redshirt freshman, but it was still his first year stepping out there. And he was pretty spectacular. That's a small guy.
Yeah.
I don't think that they don't play Raiola because you're going to be worried that if you sit him all year, some other team is going to come calling next year in the portal. He's going to get a call up to somewhere else. So you want him to play. You want him to have some buy-in. I think his heart's there. Or Beck deciding to come back. But, the timing of him is, maybe it's coincidence, but almost too close for that to be the case.
Now, you guys, of course, play Nebraska next year. Like, permanent rival game, Black Friday.
Yep.
If Raiola doesn't start the season, and I think he will.
Yeah, I think he will.
Because they're paying. Look, they just flipped them from Georgia. They're going to play him. I'm sorry. Maybe not.
They don't have a better option.
Huh? Well,
they don't have a better option.
They got Purdy. They got Harburg.
Is
that
a better option? Is that a better option though?
No, it's not. No,
games, no. But you might as well give this kid experience and get him feeling like it's his team.
Yeah.
Even if they lose, it's still better to lose with him than to win with the other guys, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you're ruled, you got at least 3 years. But you don't want to get this guy and then lose him next year.
Yeah.
You might be following him out the door.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be real fun to watch. Another high-rated quarterback in the Big Ten. Holy smokes!
Word is that Castro and Higgins and there's 3 or 4 of our defenders are all talking about coming back.
Ooh, running it back. I thought maybe Castro would go in the draft.
There was a lot to talk about, but I think they want to come back and give it another run.
Okay.
Because they didn't. You got quarterback situation. They went to the conference championship game with the worst offense in the country.
Yeah.
They're going to have a new offensive coordinator. They're probably all hoping that the quarterback that they thought they'd have is going to be there. The receiver from Ohio State, he started to come on at the end. They'll have tight ends again. I mean, they had so many injuries that I kind of feel like they got as far as they did. You kind of look at that and say, let's give it another go. So, and you got one star who was injured and went out at the end. Kind of hurts him a little bit. So if he comes back and shows that he recuperated just fine, then he's a top-level defensive back star. Castro, people just finally heard about him this year. I think he's going to have a lot of eyes on him next year when he comes back. And Higgins is a stud, but I think he could use another year too, to be honest. I mean, he was the heart of that defense, and that defense gets you a lot of tackles. But I think he could use another year of really dominating to move up. Otherwise, I think he's a later round draft pick right now, to be honest. I mean, despite his numbers, that's just because Iowa's defense had to play so many minutes. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I mean, Minnesota's doing good, aren't they? You guys have had.
Well, we're doing way better this time than last year. But we've had some commits in the portal, and then they decommitted on us. One of them is Trent Holland, the big Indiana Hoosiers running back. Trent Holland, he committed to us, went in the portal, and then went back to Indiana. Donovan McCulley, the great wide receiver, went into the portal and then went back to Indiana. Indiana got Curtis Rourke, the quarterback from Ohio Bobcats, the guy I love. And, there's some steam out there that Carson Steele, who was a great Indiana Ball State running back in the MAC Conference for 2 years, went to UCLA this year. There's some steam that he might go back to Indiana and play for Indiana. Some steam on that. None of that has happened. He's not in the portal, not that I know of. So I think Mark Cuban. What's going on
at Indiana?
I think Mark Cuban, who has a relationship with, I forget the name of the collective, Campus Inc. I think there's some steam out there that maybe Cuban put a few $1 million into the pot, and now Indiana has been able to keep some of the really good offensive players on that team suddenly, real quick, like. So that's what I wanted to bring up to Daniel Montecastle. But, yeah, Minnesota's doing okay. We're doing okay. Now, it all comes down to Max Brosmer, right? The quarterback from Delaware, the best FCS quarterback last year. Is he going to be able to play at this level? He's really smart. He's going to be a doctor. He's brilliant. He had a brilliant year last year for Delaware. But can he really play at this level? If he can play. They've already trying to get him for a few practices here right before the bowl game. He's in the playbook. They're going to have him here January, ready to go. We'll see, man. I don't know. It's a wild card, huge wild card.
Nice. Yeah, that's another Big Ten team that could finally pick things up. I think Indiana could be good. I mean, I like their stadium. They do have good facilities. I don't know why they've not built up more than they have been in the past, and they're not really a basketball school anymore. So,
yeah.
and they just sit on money. Like Indiana just sits on money. Like they have their athletic department could probably go out and surprise people with like the type of coaching staff it could put together. So I don't know. But in terms of realignment, though, I mean, you're feeling pretty good about Clemson, huh?
Well, Clemson's feeling pretty good about Clemson. And according to the leak that we're getting from not all the same people, but some of the same people in regards to the Colorado story is that, yeah, I mean, they're going to be wanted. Like So we got a comment here in the comment section here. I just want to try to
grab it.
It's just where is it? You know what? Every time Movie Time Blues says the Big Ten may need to sweeten the pot a bit. I'm a bit pessimistic. I don't know if he's talking about Clemson, but the thing is, okay, so immaculate. So how do I say this? We are under the belief, and a whole lot of other people are as well, okay? And I think this is pretty obvious. There's been some public reporting on this after we came out and said it, but there is some belief out there that Clemson and Florida State are going to make some declaration first quarter of 2024. Probably not where they're going. Probably not the official notice of withdrawal. It may happen, but we don't think that's where it's going here in the first quarter of 2024. But for Clemson and Florida State, for them to be able to say internally, okay, this is what I think. If we're going to reach a settlement with the ACC to get out of this conference, there's going to be a certain figure number. We're going to think maybe ACC in this certain range, they will accept this type of negotiate. They will accept this type of package, right?
Yeah.
So for Florida State and Clemson to be okay with this certain number, they got to know what's coming in to them. What's the potential money that's coming in to them? And
right.
Yep, go ahead.
The network.
Huh?
So you're saying that they have to talk with the network?
Yes, because they only can do so much with the conferences. They're not having direct conversations with the conferences. Their the Big Ten lawyers, and they're not involved in this stuff right now, like they were with Washington and Oregon. So what we're being told is like this Clemson consulting firm that they hired now 9 months ago, they've been talking to certain people in these media companies. What would, if we were in the SEC in 2027 to 2030, what are we going to get? Or 2027 to 2032, 33, 34 in that current media contract. They're trying to figure out what would be their take. In the Big Ten, would it be the Oregon and Washington take? Right?
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? So they keep poking and prodding back and forth. And it just so happens that more than one media company has certain people that are leaking this stuff. So that's why we know they're so active. That was the title of our show tonight. We did it a couple of months ago. Now it's active on a whole different other media company. So they're getting, and we are being told, Clemson would be an add-on. They would get. There is interest both sides, SEC and the Big Ten. So that's why we brought it up again today, because now we got more to the story. I know that doesn't answer everybody's questions, but that's about as far as I can go.
So if that network or networks are leaking the stuff out, does that mean that they want this to happen, and so they're wanting to cause things to progress a little bit? You'd think if they didn't care or didn't want it to happen, they'd kind of keep it on the down low. And
well,
we're going to get excited, and they're going to push the school, and donors will get excited, and they start coming in and talk about, doing stuff.
I don't know. Probably. I just think, I don't want to name any names here.
Sure. Right.
But there's a reporter out there that I've never spoken to, right? Never spoken to. He doesn't know me from Adam. But, he put out a report a few months ago about Clemson. And I think this is partial mix up of speculation with maybe a little bit of an education speculation. But I think he was able to get this story because maybe the media company he works for has had talks with Clemson. You know what I'm saying? So then he was able to scoop up the story. Now, did he put out the story because he wants this to happen? Does he want his media company to do it? I don't know. I think he just got the story and he wanted to put it out there, and it was an accurate story. I probably went too far with that, but that's all I can say on that.
Yeah, I don't know who you're talking about still,
Okay.
so if that helps. Like,
Okay.
you haven't, like, I'm still not sure. I'm not trying to go too far back because, I mean, I personally think that Clemson should be going pretty hard in the paint right now because maybe they end up getting the spots in either conference that they want. Being able to monetarily do it sooner than others certainly helps. But if I'm the other schools in the ACC who are sticking around, I don't know if I'm so excited about collecting a big paycheck from them either, if that money is just going to make it easier for some other schools to then depart. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's going to divide that up.
Yeah.
So just allowing two schools like that to go out first and paying a big amount, that's going to make it a lot easier for other schools to leave. Like if I don't know, Virginia, North Carolina, Virginia Tech, North Carolina State, and let's say $600 to $800 million comes in from those two schools. Now that's over time, so I don't know what it would be up front, but that money that you get, you could turn around as part of your upfront payment to get out, and then have your own payment set up. So yeah, that's why I've never really been much of a believer in only two schools getting out in the start. But I could see them both coming out and saying something like you kind of alluded to about speaking their intentions and putting it out there and seeing what's next. But because Clemson, I think you don't want to like sit back and let someone else step in front because I don't know. I only have my own opinion on them. If they ended up in the Big Ten with Florida State, then obviously networks put high value on them, and that's where the conference wants to go. I think that they definitely want to get ahead of others because the longer it goes, the less the cost of departure would be, and more schools could then compete against them for that. So, I definitely think that Clemson's probably the most active. At least I would be if I was them, because you need to get out before someone else might take your spot. So, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll see how it goes, man. I don't know. I still kind of stand on my face, but it could go in any direction at this point in time.
You got it.
All right, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it, Mr. Hot Guy.
Have a good night.
Yeah. Great call by the Hot Guy, Immaculate John Teal. Kids' egos bigger than Baker Mayfield. Well, thank you for the super chat, John. Appreciate it so very much. The kid it's got to be tough, man, when you're 17 years old and you can throw a football like that. I don't want to hit the kid too hard. I had a little bit of fun there.
Call from
Steve.
Steve, can you hold on just 1 second, sir?
Sure.
I appreciate it. So, John, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it so very much. John Teal, does Clemson knows how this looks? They won't pay NIL and use transfer portal for kids, but they will pay a conference and transfer to another league. They do have NIL at Clemson. It's just they haven't done what other schools have done, and they will end up doing it. But you make a very good comment, John. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you for your generosity so very much. Steve, Steve. Call back, Steve. Call back, Steve. I hit the wrong button. Mr. Bearcat, I apologize. Call back. Everybody stay off the line. Let Steve call back. I apologize, Steve. Holy smokes. I hit the wrong button. I haven't done that in a long time. Daniel, Indiana.
Call from
Steve,
I am so sorry, sir. Mr. Bearcat.
It may
I
have been-
apologize.
it may have been
I hit
on-
the wrong button. The host
Okay, I was
is
thinking-
an idiot. Let's put it that way.
no, I was thinking I did it, Greg.
No,
so
nope. I
big
did it,
deal.
and I was apologizing you profusely until you called back. Okay.
No big deal.
All right.
When we spoke a few shows ago, and I probably didn't make my question clear enough. I asked you if you thought there were any communications, and I should have put indirectly, between networks and prospective ACC teams. And I don't think I asked it correctly, but there definitely is some communication, even if it's a third party that's working for Clemson. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Third party.
Understanding
Yes.
that.
Yes.
Okay. Correct in understanding that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing, Greg, is there going to be, in your opinion, in your opinion, 2 to 4 leave at the same time? I mean, how many leaves first?
I don't know. I would say for the schools that are going to be handing in their notice of withdrawal, I think more the better, right? It's more advantageous for them, but I don't think they have control of, like North Carolina. We've
Sure.
like, in Virginia, there's situations that Clemson and Florida State don't control. So it might be those two alone at the beginning. But great question. I just don't have an answer.
Okay. And then, again, in your opinion, does the SEC beat everybody to the table?
They have the advantage that they probably will, right? I mean,
Okay.
because if you're talking about the ACC implosion, right?
Right.
Yeah, they have a great advantage, right? Because whatever, if Clemson and Florida State can climb the high mountain, or North Carolina and Virginia is able to join them, however that works out, they're able to climb the high mountain of get the settlement done, and ACC is going to be okay with it because they get security, some cash into the pockets of those other ACC schools. ESPN is going to have to be okay with some part of this, right?
Yeah, that's the question that always pops into my mind, is the ESPN factor, Greg.
Yes.
With them, having the ACC already, having the SEC already,
Yes.
That's the point you just made that constantly pops in my head, that when you have the SEC and ESPN, what's the best way to phrase this? Wanting you to come over,
Yes.
if indeed ESPN looks at it that way, that's kind of a win-win for whoever jumps first, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And that's why
Yeah.
that's why even though obviously to everybody the Florida State ESPN SEC relationship is as cold as ice. It's as
Yes.
cold as my predictions against the spread. Okay, and that's ice. I don't think we can eliminate the possibility. No way, no how, can we eliminate the possibility, because of what you just said, Steve, of a clean 4-team sweep by the SEC where they eat the table? At the table, they get to eat first, second, third, and fourth. We cannot eliminate that possibility because of what you just said.
Yeah. That just always comes through my mind when I think of SEC. Right beside it is ESPN, and that's just. And last thing, Greg, did you see the bowl game today?
No, I missed it, but I heard it was a great ending.
Oh, it was 28-0 at the end of the first quarter. Western Kentucky was behind, and they won 38-35 in overtime.
Holy smokes!
It was so much fun to watch the second half. And if people, and I've got nothing against these great football players who opt out, who know they're going to the NFL, don't want to take a chance getting hurt in a bowl game. Got nothing against that. But if you saw these kids competing today, in front of maybe 15 or 20,000 people, I doubt it was even that much. It was amazing. They played football, They wanted to win. They weren't just there.
Yeah.
So if you see any highlights, you're just going to go, "Wow, that was real good. That was just fun to watch." If you're an Old Dominion fan, obviously it wasn't that much fun to watch. But anyhow, all right, Greg, you answered a few questions that's been going through my mind. I appreciate it, and have a good night,
buddy.
sir.
I'm sorry I hung up on you, Steve.
Oh, no problem. No problem at all.
You got it.
Bye.
Okay. Is John Smith ever going to come back? Is John Smith ever going to come back? That's a question from Anthony Carlson. Well, I have a
Call from
ABO Prep Course 100.
Soap is on the line. How you doing, Soap?
I'm great, Greg. How are you today?
Good. Can you hold on for a second, because I got to sing a song real quick. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Am I going to be able to hear it? Hold on.
I don't know if you're able to hear it. You probably want to put your hands over your ears. But this is for John Smith, Mr. Wolverine, who's been giving me the riot act. He's been telling me that Michigan's going to win it all. He's been telling me that Michigan's going to win it all. He's been ripping on my reporting about the scandal at Ann Arbor when it came to in-person scouting of college stallions. I still believe that Tony Petitti did the right thing. However, Michigan Wolverines, I believe they have the opportunity. I think they're going to win it all. So for John Smith, if you're hearing this show right now, this is for you. This is for you. I promise you this song if Michigan won the Big Ten championship. So here it is. Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the leaders and the best. Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the West. Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the West. Hail to the victors valiant, hail to the conquering heroes, hail, hail to Michigan, the champions of the West. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, everybody, you can come back into the chat. Soap, the floor is yours.
Oh, hell.
Yes.
Oh, hell. I don't know about that. No, that was a fine job, Greg. Fine job.
I'm getting booed. I'm getting booed in the chat pretty hard here. So.
Come on, guys. That was great. That was great. I still have to say was it Colorado Rocky Mountain High?
Yes.
You did? Yeah,
Yes.
that was superb. That
Thank
was
you.
superb.
Appreciate it.
Anyway, Greg, I wanted to kind of bring up this, and I'm going to butcher this poor guy's name. Is it Rafulio or the quarterback transfer or the young man at University of Nebraska? How do you pronounce his name?
Raiola.
Raiola. Yeah, I knew.
Yeah.
I remember his dad playing ball there.
Yes.
Did his dad play pro ball as well?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah.
He might have done a little bit of coaching in the NFL too.
So it's Raiola, right?
I say Raiola. Raiola.
Okay, Raiola. Well, I think that this serves as a microcosm between the situation with the returning quarterback at Georgia, Beck, and a freshman coming in wanting to play. I think that this is going to be standard procedure coming into this year's and more so in the future. And I think it's going to present itself or project itself more in this, upper pay for play level or sector of teams, the top 64, and then the lower 64, which might be your group of 5 or whatever. But you might even be able to take that upper level at 64 and the top 32 and the bottom 32, because those top 32 teams most likely are not going to play a freshman quarterback, maybe not even a sophomore quarterback. You look at University of Texas and the Manning kid, so if there's a kid, my child wanted to play football, wanted to play quarterback, I would recommend that he go to a lesser school and play, actually start for a year or two and then transfer to a major college where he would then be starting there, because I think we're going to start seeing many of these top schools starting transfer quarterbacks. And if it starts with quarterbacks, it'll go to running backs. It'll go to the wide receivers and all positions. And I think you're really going to see this separation between the lower schools are where the freshmen and sophomores are playing, and they serve as a feeder to these upper schools through the transfer portals. And if we're looking at possibly that environment where, they were talking about these schools where the kids are paid and they have to, they have a higher standard or different separation between the rest of the schools, you could have a situation where a kid who transfers into those top schools has to make a commitment for 2 years, maybe, as opposed to, that's just an agreement of that group. So, but did you hear the coach of UCLA, Kelly, his discussion about what he thought the future was going to look like? Did you get a chance to hear that?
I think it was a discussion of what he would like it for it to look like.
Yeah, right. But it was very similar to what you and I have talked about before. And, but what he did say that was rather interesting was that they didn't need to have conferences for the upper level of college football. Conferences could be for baseball and hockey and track and that type of thing, based upon, the area you're in, but not necessarily for upper level of football. That it would be just, like a bunch of independent schools that all signed an agreement to play games on TV for the same amount of money, almost like but everybody was independent. No one, there would be no need for the SEC or no need for the Big 12. And when you start looking at something like that, it's very interesting that all of those contracts for the SEC and the Big 10, the Big 12, and they start to they all come to an end relatively close to each other, with the exception of the ACC. The ACC is the outlier that expires at a much later time. So you might be in a situation where we actually see the this consolidation of this upper division, and the upper division makes its own contractual arrangement with the networks. Have you heard or you thought any about that at all?
I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think the chances of what Chip Kelly said happening is probably 2% at most.
Okay.
Here's the problem with, he said, he would like to see a 64 team football, conference, right? 64 teams. But then when it comes to like softball, UCLA should be playing Arizona, things like that, right?
Right.
And the conference go away. Here's the problem. And I'm just being honest. Like, I understand how that could be very attractive for many people, but the problem is the Big Ten and the SEC, for example. What are they getting out of this if they decide to do that? They're not getting anything out of it. The investment, the millions of dollars of branding, creating the SEC network, creating the Big Ten network, the risk that were taken when the Big Ten network was created, everybody didn't think it was going to work, and it worked. Like all this time and energy in developing these valuable conferences, and now we're just going to say 65, 64 teams in a conference it just, in reality, it just is not going to happen. Fox Sports owns 61% of the Big Ten network. What are they supposed to do with that? ESPN owns the SEC network, the ACC network. Now, again, 30 years ago, if you would have said this to me, I would have said, not only do I like the idea, this needs to happen. I think we're way too down the road for what Chip Kelly to say for it to happen. I heard what he said. It was a great idea 30 years ago, but I don't think I don't see how it's possible, to be honest.
Well,
I'm sorry. I have to be honest.
The thing that, no, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That's why I asked you the question, my friend, and I really appreciate your input. That's why I listened to you.
Yeah.
And I call, but I think that there are so many things that we can't predict the outcome because of this money situation with having to pay the kids. That is what's going to be driving everything. And when you start looking at where is the money going to come, when you say where's the money going to come from to pay the kids, well, there's money there to do that, but they're going to have to take it they're using that money right now for one thing, and they're going to have to reduce that. Yes. It's gonna play out very interesting, and ultimately it's going to come down to the networks, because that's where the primary the mass revenue is from the telecast of these games. Mm-hmm. And when they come in and say, all right, we're going to take all of the millions of dollars that we're paying, or billions of dollars that we're paying for 4 conferences, and we're going to give it to 32 teams, or in the upper level of the, or we're going to give 80% to 32 of those teams in the upper level of the pay-for-play division. Those schools like Michigan and UCL or USC and Texas and Oklahoma and Alabama, they're all going to stand up and say, okay, that's how we're going to do it, and they're going to leave the lessers behind. Yep. I think that's what's going to happen, because they're going to have to pay for the best kids, and it actually works out. If you have a feeder league, where these kids in their freshman and sophomore years are playing for, Fresno State and putting up big numbers, and then they can go to their junior year. They can go to LSU and start at LSU and make a whole bunch of money from NIL, and so forth, then that's great. That's the way the system ought to work, instead of sitting there giving kids a bunch of money who might never turn into anything. Let them prove themselves first. Let the lower divisions be minor leagues, for lack of a better term. But still, they have quality kids, because if I'm a 5-star recruit, and there's a really, really good chance I'm not going to start or play until the latter part of my sophomore year or my junior year, why would I decide to go to a major school? I wouldn't. I'd go to a minor school and play there, and transfer to a powerhouse that's going to pay me the most. That makes the most sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, I get it. You're making a lot of great points. I think when you talk about, when other people talk about the lesser, the non-helmet schools are going to be feeder programs to the upper programs. We're already seeing that happening, right? Where
I agree.
Yeah, we're already seeing that happening. And we're also seeing the G5 and the FCS become the feeder programs of the middling Power 5, the Autonomy 4 conference teams, which is most of us, to be honest with you. So we're seeing that already happening. I think we're going to keep seeing that. You make a lot of great points. No question about it.
But I couldn't have imagined that actually would have happened, that this would be taking place 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I would have said, if somebody had said that that's what's going to be happening with the Fort Hole and kids getting paid and so forth, I would have said you're out of your mind. The things are changing very quickly. Yeah. And the thing that's going to be driving this is the kids getting money in their pocket, and who's going to pay for it, how they're going to pay for it, and not everybody's going to be able to pay for it. So that's my 2 cents worth, my friend.
All righty, sir.
Hey, great talking with you, Greg. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Beautiful. Thank you so. Appreciate it, sir. You have a good one.
You
Call
bet.
Again.
Best to the family.
You got it. You too.
Right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Great call. Great call once again. Yep, Dante Moore is transferred to Oregon. They got Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore, and I'm expecting it's pretty interesting. So now Oregon probably, I would assume, I'm just speculating, probably told Moore, look, we're not going to be going in the portal next year, right? We went in the portal 2 years ago, took Bo Nix. Now we took Dylan Gabriel. Next year, the job is yours if you develop yourself, right? I think that would be the case. I'm just speculating.
Call from
JD.
JD, Mr. Seminole is on the line. The floor is yours.
How you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing just fine. Just doing just fine. Quick question. As of today, we understand things will change soon, but and we understand it's not going to work this way. But just humor me here.
I will.
If FSU and Clemson left the ACC today,
got it.
Where's Clemson's most likely destination today?
I would say SEC.
Okay.
Most likely. Now, and if it happened today, so in general, the quicker this happens, the more advantage the SEC has. The more likelihood that the SEC is going to be able to eat first, going to be able to eat second, possibly be able to eat third, be able to eat fourth. The quicker this all wraps up, the more advantage the ESPN has, because that means that ESPN has the invisible hand that's at least helping move all this. So I would say likely, but let's be careful here. I'm definitely not saying it's not out of the possibility that Clemson will end up in the Big Ten, because because they have poked and prodded with people on that side of the ledger. And I'm not talking Big Ten officials. I'm talking about maybe media partners and such like that. I don't want to get too much deep into that, but so Clemson feels good. Florida State feels good in the sense of they know there's interest out there. They know there's a landing spot. They don't know exactly what the money would be. They know they have a huge mountain to climb. But this isn't like the Seminoles and the Tigers are not getting cold shoulders. That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Well, see, that was important, and I appreciate your update today because you hear so many things out there, and I was a little taken aback. And then, to be honest with you, I kind of took the bait that, hey, maybe Clemson did miss their window, or maybe not they missed their window because nobody in the ACC's actually taken the opportunity yet, though we know it's coming. But you hear so many things, you start to believe them, or you at least give them credibility when, because it's so tough to decipher what is speculation and what's reality.
Mm-hmm. I get it. Yep, I get it.
And your stuff is checked out, but what happens is you don't talk about it every single day. In other words, you'll give us updates when you have it, but
and when I can. Yeah, and when
you can, yeah. But you're very, very careful not to insist on a particular direction when you can't go there. You can't say in specifics. And
there's too many variables in this, man. There's just too much going on. There's North Carolina, there's Virginia. That's affecting everything. Look, I'm going to tell you something else, JD. You know this House versus NCAA, that's affecting stuff. These court cases. People, these schools, they got to put away some cash. These conferences have got to put away some cash because they're going to be paying out some money here on these court cases. So that's affecting everything. The media market's affecting everything. We only can give you the perception of I can confidently say right now on December 18th that while there is a big, massive mountain to climb, and we've never said it any different than that, it is, if they get over that mountain, Florida State and Clemson are in a good spot if they can get over the mountain. It's not like, Big Ten and SEC, neither of them are saying, no, that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening for the media companies. That's just not what's happening. There's too much value in Florida State. There's too much value in Clemson. There's just too much value there for them to get the cold shoulder.
Sure. Well, I've always felt like, and from when it, even from, not the summer of 23, but the summer of 22, that the intermediary between the teams in the ACC and their potential new home and new conferences was the networks. So, something, whatever happened to throw cold water on the potential negotiation or talks, where, in your theater when Greg Sankey was in, had moved to the front row or however you phrased it. And I'm not going to try to do it. I mean, you do a great job at, expressing it, but however, whatever happened for him to either get up and leave the theater or move several rows back or whatever, it had to have been some kind of an offer, because something in late October, early November just soured the relationship with ESPN and FSU. I mean, I don't know. Even before the snub happened, something happened. And so, I think it was. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish your. I want to make sure.
I was actually going in another direction. So you go ahead and say what you were going to say.
Well, it might be a little bit of a rant. So, but I'll get you your
Go
time
ahead,
back.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Here's the thing, PATC chat and everybody here, and I probably should have put this example up earlier. You guys, many of you were here when we talked about over and over again about how Oregon and Washington, they were going to be in the Big Ten 5 months from now or 5 years from now. That there was a window, still a window there, that they could go into the Big Ten, and these are the things that needed to happen. The PATC community, you've got to remember this because I said it almost every single day. And I was the only one saying it. The reason why, or almost the only one saying it, there were a couple national reporters that were saying it, but the reason why is because Fox Sports wanted it to happen if, things had to happen. Kevin Warren had to leave his job. There had to be an implosion, that the Big 12 had to crack the Pac-12 more than once. The legal council of the Big Ten had to be okay with it after the Big 12 cracked in the Pac-12 a couple times. But the main, how do I say this? The main energy towards PATC, us, to be able to tell Oregon Duck fans and Washington Husky fans that this can happen in the next 5 months is because Fox wanted it to happen. At a certain price, they wanted it to happen. After 6 years, they want Oregon and Washington to be Big Ten properties. They wanted it, and we were told over and over and over again, and we were told by leaks. And we said it over and over again. Now, we got raked over the coals, man. We got raked over the coals. There's people on Twitter who blocked 1,000 people, 1,000 Oregon Duck fans, because they kept saying it ain't going to happen. It isn't going to happen. The Big Ten's going to go. They're not going to go to Oregon and Washington. I was crushed. They were going over me like a Mack truck over a tin can. But you see, there was a certain thing there that kept it all alive, and it kept pushing it, and it was Fox Sports. That's what, so when I'm talking, and I've used the Colorado example, but I should have used the Oregon-Washington example. When I'm telling the PATC community, when we're sitting in the Holy Smokes Theater, and I'm saying that Clemson and Florida State are feeling pretty good about themselves, even though there's this high mountain in front of them, it's gonna be a challenge. But because they know that there are multiple media companies, including ESPN, even though there's a frosty relationship, but it's more than ESPN. Hint, hint, wink, wink. There are multiple media companies that are in their corner if and when they should be able to escape the ACC. And again, Greg, how do you know this? You don't have to take my word. Just look at our history at PATC. Because of the leaks from the media companies. Do you guys all understand what I'm saying? That is where it's coming from. JD, I'm sorry. I just had to get that out because
I wanted you to do your rant because to be honest with you, this will somewhat tie into what you're saying, but it also is referring to some of our previous conversations on when I was talking about what it's going to cost FSU to leave. There's probably, and I probably didn't do a good enough job explaining the check that FSU is going, or any exiting ACC member is going to have to write, may be different from the total cost of the exit. The grant of rights, and we all know this, there is no buyout figure attached to it.
Mm-mm.
Okay?
Yep.
Now, here's the trick, and here's a lot of the misunderstandings. If FSU or Clemson leave the ACC, let's again, I may not do a very good job of explaining this. The ACC doesn't have any right to ask for additional concessions as an exit payout if the ESPN ACC contract remains in effect. These teams that are leaving, I don't see how they would have a legal recourse to get, because if you're going to say, well, you're going to buy back your media rights and so on and so forth, well, not if the ESPN ACC contract remains in effect, because you're still getting paid the same that you would anyway. Now, I think, and we can get lost in the weeds, and you and I could debate this for hours, and I think eventually we come to kind of a similar opinion, or it would be somewhat close. At some point, there's going to be a negotiation. Like I'm almost convinced FSU is going to the Big Ten, and it may happen when they go to the SEC, but I'm virtually convinced that that's what's happening. Clemson, I don't know. I think they might be, but I don't know. I think they would choose the SEC even a reduced payout. I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
At some point,
I don't think any of us really knows, and I don't think they know. So, not yet.
At some point, and Immaculate has referred to this, at some point that ACC deal is just going to get torn up. And I'm not saying FSU won't be responsible for some type of a GOR buyout. We have no clue what it is. I do believe that negotiation will happen between the networks. If they're going to Fox, whether that means Fox writes a check and throws it into an equity account with private equity, or whether they're negotiating between ESPN and then ESPN takes care of the ACC, I don't know. But I don't believe there's going to be these $300 or $400 million checks from the schools to the conference. I don't believe that. I believe this is all going to be worked out because we're seeing the conferences, the networks giving these schools the wink and the nod. Oh, you'll be okay. Well, so you have a home. So the schools know they can't go write a $500 million check today. They can't do that. There's got to be some avenue to accomplish this goal, but they're given some type of an assurance that they can do this. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about the first quarter of 2024. When I say things are farther along in the past, I've said things are farther along we realize. Do they have all the details worked out? No, I don't think so, but things are a lot farther along than we really think, because we're heading to this place and they must feel like they have a path. I think one of the now I had heard something a while back, and I'm not going to divulge what I heard because I'd burn a source. There were reasons Florida State waited, and I've heard what those reasons were, but I've also heard that I think that has been resolved. So we'll see how all that plays out here shortly.
Is the reason they delayed, was it internal?
Not at the university, but anyway, I'm going to
Yep.
stop there. I'm going to stop there because When we get closer, I'll talk to you off air, and then we or DM you or something. Maybe when we see it about to happen, I'll kind of let you know what I heard, and I'll give you a little heads up. But anyway, yeah, it's just these schools, they're not going to be writing $400 and $500 million checks. This is all going to be worked out. I don't know if Fox is going to buy the rights from FSU or anyone else, or if there's going to be a whole new contract. I don't know. I mean, some of this is just silly money. Do I believe FSU and Clemson are going to have to stroke checks for 80 to 120 million? Oh yeah, absolutely. They're going to have to do that, and I think they've got it. I know FSU does, or at least it's been set aside. And I think you also talked about this a while back. You can apply part of your TV revenue to it, and it's due 30 days after your final exit. So if, let's say, FSU announces in 2024, by August 2024, that they're leaving, it's due, I think, is what, June or July of 2025. It went 30 days of your exit from the conference, and I forget which day that is. So that's when that total amount would be due.
Yep.
That's almost 2 years from now. But as far as the GOR and everything else, that is so complicated because we don't even know what the value. The ACC can't just make up a number. ESPN can't make up a number. I mean, maybe a judge would try. No, I think there's just going to be some agreement or bartering of rights between the networks and the conferences, and that's where all that's going to get figured out. But anyway, that's my little rant. But but anyway, sorry to get into the weeds, and trust me, I can get much farther into the weeds. Anyway.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Seminole.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it.
All right, bye-bye.
Great call. Great call once again by JD. Again, Dante Moore has committed to Oregon. Dominique Jackson has entered the transfer portal. Yeah, a defensive back that got beat a few times last year. Got beat quite a few times last year. I think he's a former 5-star. We'll see how that goes. I think we're going to close it up. We've been on the air for, I believe, 2 hours. I appreciate everybody coming on in this Monday, early evening, late afternoon. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Get yourself notified. We could be coming on live at any time, any breaking news. Today, we had an update in the Holy Smokes Theater. Wanted to make something very, very clear. Clemson remains very active, which is not a sign that the door has been shut on them. The window has not been closed. If Clemson is able to get over the high mountain of the ACC grant of rights, the door hasn't been shut. Not from our perception, not from what we are being told. Clemson still remains very, very active. That's the information that we were able to give you today. And we'll see when the next Holy Smokes Theater update is going to happen. I think the first quarter in 2024 is going to be a very, very interesting time. So I want to thank you all for coming on in. Please smash the like button. I want to thank you for all the comments, the great phone calls, and the donations. And again, if you're interested at the Early Peak membership, go check it out. Hit the join button. We drop information. We were going to do one this morning, but we intentionally waited. We're going to hopefully drop it tomorrow morning. It has to do with some information that we receive when it comes to realignment in the G5 world. So we're going to get to it hopefully tomorrow. We were going to drop it this morning, but we got a little bit more information. We want to see where it all settles. We're going to be dropping it tomorrow morning, hopefully at Early Peak for Early Peak members. So if you're interested, hit the join button. We want to thank you once again for all coming in. I appreciate it. Until next time, from all of us at PATC to all of you, please you all take great care of each other. Thank you so